Hey, this is Johnny. Today I'm going to be showing you how to build a BMX bike from the ground up. So right here I've got my frame. I just freshly painted it last night with a nice textured gray color. It's got a slight blue tint to it and it turned out pretty nice. Now I did leave the bearings in while I painted it. I masked them off with some tape. I'm not going to be demonstrating how to install these bearings because it's just a pain in the ass. But it's really not that hard. All you need is a hammer and a 2x4 or one of those bearing press tools you can buy from Park Tool, or you can even make one by going to your local hardware store and getting a couple parts. I have a couple pictures on the screen showing you what I'm talking about. So let's get started. I'm going to show you which tools you'll be needing. All you need is some kind of Allen set. I've got a 3-way Allen set here. It's got a 4, 5, and a 6 millimeter on it. That's all I need for my particular bike. You might need something else. But for most BMX bikes, all you'll need is one of these. And also you'll need some kind of socket. This is just for the wheels. Most of the parts on the bike actually just require Allens. But for my purpose, I need a socket. It's a 17 mil with extension because I have pegs. And yeah, that's all you'll really need. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, before I start, I just want to say it's also useful to have some kind of lubricant grease type product. This is just your run-of-the-mill marine grease. It works just fine. It's also super useful to have a rag lying around just in case you get crap all over your hands, because you probably will be getting grease all over your hands. So we're going to be starting off with the forks. What you'll need is an entire headset. And that includes a bottom race, your bottom bearing, your top bearing, your top race, and then your dust cap. So some forks actually come with a bottom race integrated, mine doesn't, but luckily enough, if you just go out and buy a full headset, it will come with a bottom race. So this just slides on right here. So then you want to get your bottom race. So see how it's sort of a chamfered edge on one side and not on the other? If you have it in your hand, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. But the chamfered edge always faces towards the head tube here. So we're going to be putting it on like this. And you'll see that it rotates very nicely on the bottom race there. So that shows that you have good contact and you did it right. So with those two things on, we're gonna go ahead and attach it to the frame like this. I'm gonna be very careful because I just painted it and I don't want to get grease on it. So don't worry if it's sort of sticking out right now. That doesn't matter. We're just trying to get the pieces together. Then we will be tightening it. So now you want to get your top bearing, and like I said with the chamfered edge here, it wants to be facing down. It's like an arrow almost. So you put that in facing down, and it's just kind of resting on top there, but you can kind of seat it if you want to. It makes things a little easier. Just kind of press it in there. But it doesn't matter because either way, when we tighten it, it will press it in. And then you want to get your top race. So this race kind of snugs things up. The final piece is your top cap. Headsets will come with different fit spacers and all that, just to make sure that you can put it all together properly. After you put all of these things on, you want to have about an inch maybe of extra tube. That's for the stem that we're going to be putting on. So I'm just going to wipe my hands a little bit. So now you want to get your stem. It looks like this. Mine's a top load. And you want this thickness here to be a little bit bigger than the amount of space that's here. Just because when you tighten down, you want there to be a little bit of extra slack, I guess, so it's actually tightening and the bolt isn't bottoming out, which is not a good thing because then it just rattles all over the place. So let's go ahead and put the stem on like so. You can actually thread this. There we go. So once you get it started, you can start tightening it, and you'll notice that the bearings will kind of press themselves. You just want to make sure they're going in relatively straight, or else you're going to destroy them somehow. So now we're just going to tighten. See, it already pressed the bearings. Now, You want to make sure that you're not binding the bearings, which means you're tightening them so much that they kind of stick together. And you can tell if you're doing that, if you turn the forks here like that, you'll feel a bit of resistance. So you want to back it off just ever so slightly. And now it's very smooth and it doesn't rattle back and forth. And you can make minor adjustments later on if you do so happen to have some play there. Okay, so now onto the bars. So we're gonna take off these stem bolts here. So I'm gonna install my bars now. Now, if you don't want to ruin your paint, you want to put like a rag here maybe or something just to protect it from when you're putting your bars on, like that. Just let them rest. And I mean, the rest is easy. You just take your bolts, install them like so. So now you want to sort of hand tighten them. I'm going to use a 3-way anyways, but you don't want to tighten them too much. You want to sort of even things out a little bit. You just want to make sure that whatever's holding this down wants to be sort of even. This little gap here, you want it to be very even. And before you fully tighten it, you want to get your bars in the right spot. So to do the full tightening, you want to go in a cross pattern. There are 4 here, 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to go here to here to here to here. And that ensures that you're doing everything balanced and you're not going to crush the tubing that your bars are made of. And it's also going to be the most effective clamp. You don't want to use your arm for leverage because that can over torque things and make things painful. So now it's relatively taut, and yeah. And then you want to tighten your pinch bolts here on the sides of the stem. And you want to do this incrementally. You don't want to just tighten one fully and do the other one right after. You want to do it little by little. And that also ensures that you're not destroying your tubing, because that can actually put a lot of pressure on the tubing and cause it to dent or bend or crack even. So just be careful. And we can actually loosen it and retighten it later if we want to get the bars straight with the wheel. But for now, we're just putting it together. Now we're going to be moving to the rear end. Now first, to make things easier, we're going to flip this upside down because we're going to be installing the crankset now. So typically with your crankset, you're going to be getting some kind of spindle and 2 cranks. I've already got the pedals installed. Those are a no-brainer how to install. Now, I say it's a no-brainer, but actually the right pedal is normally threaded and the left pedal is reverse threaded. So you want to make sure when you're tightening down the left pedal that you're doing lefty-tighty instead of righty-tighty as you would do on the right pedal. So in my case, I've got a 48 spline structure here, and it's a 19mm diameter. You just want to make sure you're getting all the right measurements of the parts that you want. You will need the dust cap that goes on the side without the sprocket, which will be a little bigger than the dust cap, which is supposed to go on the side of the drive. This is a right-hand drive setup, so when you're upside down, you kind of gotta work it out. So over here, this is the right side of the bike, and that's where my sprocket's gonna be. So we're gonna be putting it in this way, since this is a one piece here. So you wanna put the dust cap on first here, like so, and just pop it in there. Now it may have a little bit of trouble getting in there, just because all the measurements are so tight. So just kind of give it a little whack. And it's in. Now if you're ever needing to use a hammer, never hit metal to metal. Use some kind of 2x4 or something, like a rag, just to soften the impact so you're not damaging your parts. So now you want to grab your other pieces. So here we've got the dust cap for the drive side, which, as you can tell, it's a little bit shorter. It's almost like a fourth the width. And that's because we're accommodating this sprocket here, which has a width of its own. So we're going to put this dust cap on to hide the exposed bearing. Yeah, and any other little spacers you're going to put them on now. Put them on before the sprocket. And now we're just going to stick on the sprocket here. And now, since mine's a 48 spline setup, I'm going to need to make sure that it's parallel with the other side. So you just want to eyeball it And a really cool trick, I'll do it slightly off just on purpose so I can show you the trick. You can tell that it's a little bit off. Is that when you let go of it or you spin it a little bit, it's gonna want to sort of go to the direction as if it's concave like this. So that's how you can sort of tell if you're off. With 8 spline cranks, it's so much easier. You don't have to worry about that, but these are 48 spline. So we're just gonna have to make sure they're dead straight. And once you get it, it's good. So that should be good. And as you can see, it's not wanting to go anywhere other than the way I push it. So it's balanced and it's good to go. So you're gonna put in this bolt here. You don't wanna over tighten because you will be binding the bearings. So they spin pretty nicely and there's no play. I'm gonna see if I can tighten it a little more. Yeah, that's good to go. So as you can see, they spin pretty good. They're not the best bearings in the world. And it's solid. So that's good to go. So now we're gonna go ahead and put the seat on real quick. So I have a pivotal setup. I have a little seat post here. I chopped it just for weight reduction because I'm a weight weenie. No, I'm actually not, but I just chopped it because I don't need that extra length because I pretty much just put it all the way in. So you want to go ahead and put it in there. This is going to be a little hard for me because I painted it, so there's a little bit of paint in there. There it goes. What we can do is put the seat on. So this is a pivotal setup, and usually it's actually a 6mm. So we're just gonna do that there. And you can see I have contact with the bolt. So I like a neutral angle, just kind of flat or parallel with the front, the top tube here. There we go. Give that a little tighten there. Straighten the seat. Don't over tighten, obviously. You be the judge of your own metal fatigue. So we're almost done here. We just need to install the chain and the wheels, and I believe that's it. So let's move on to the wheels. We're gonna flip it upside down again. So you wanna make sure you're putting them on the right way, obviously. I already have my tires installed and my pegs and everything. So just put it on here and tighten either side of the axle. You're contacting both sides of the dropouts properly, so the wheel is centered in the fork. You're not going to be rubbing on the side or anything. Spins freely, solid, it's good to go. Now before we put on the rear wheel, we're going to put on the chain, and you want to size it appropriately. Mine's already sized. It's basically going to be going like this. So I'm going to take my master link here. Here we go. It's on, good to go. Put that aside. So you want to put it on this before you put the wheel in the dropouts. And then to make things easier, go ahead and put this on the sprocket. My plan of action to get the chain tight and the wheel centered is simple, but I take a rag and I just stuff it right here. Okay, so as you can see, I stuffed the cloth there. Chain's pretty tight, and you want to do it side by side until it's relatively tight. Now you may need to get a buddy of yours to hold this side down, because as you can see, as soon as you start torquing it more, it's going to want to lift up. And that's it. We're all done. Pull out the rag, and the bike is good to go. And that is how you build a BMX bike. Pretty simple. It is the easiest of bikes to build because it is so simple. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. This was Johnny from Official Skate BMX TV, and I'll see you in the next video.